Hey, and welcome to Founders 365 with me, Steven Haggerty. Today, I'm joined by the founder of Visably, Mr. Chris Dickey. How are you today, Chris?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Thanks for being here, and pleased to have you on the show. So, let's kick things off. We're just getting an understanding of what you guys do over there.
Yeah, so Visibly is a new SaaS solution. We focus primarily on search engine visibility. And the way that we look at search is there's so many potential customer touch points on that first page of search. And there's a heavy emphasis on SEO, on advertising. But what I felt was that there was a significant gap between all the other places where a customer may discover your brand. So I'm talking about e-commerce sites and media reviews and perhaps in Quora, whatever, all these kind of places where people actually discover products or services or new ideas. And so what Visibly does is we look through every single link on the first page of search, and we actually explore the page content behind the links, looking for branded content. And then once we do that, we kind of organize the way that looks and create kind of a footprint for your brand. And we help you provide a roadmap for how people can find you in search.
Fantastic. Let's go back in time a little bit then. How did you come up with this idea? Because I know that this isn't your first business, this isn't your first rodeo. So, how did this business and this idea form and sort of kick off?
Yeah, so I'm a career marketer. I'm not a software guy. I never thought I would be in software, to be totally honest with you. I have been
I hear
running.
that a lot when people have software roles.
No, when I was a kid, I was like, I want to be a marketing director, and sure enough, that's what I ended up doing. But the last 11 years, I've been running my own PR agency. I'm out here in the mountains of Wyoming in the United States. And we primarily work on active lifestyle and outdoor products, stuff that you go outside and play with. And over the years, what we began to recognize as PR professionals was that the most valuable hits that we had as PR people were showing up at the top of search. And once we kind of recognized that these PR hits were performing, just outperforming everything else that we were doing, we started asking ourselves, how can we do more of that? And it just made sense. And so we started kind of developing practice around SEO and PR and how the two kind of work together. And at the end of the day, what I started asking myself is, how do I audit a SERP for brand? Not just for the website, but for the brand. And that tool did not exist. And so that's effectively what Visibly is like we provide this audit of search in search, looking for branded content. And then once we identify the branded content, then we break it down into different channels and recognize, oh, this is an e-commerce hit, or this is a PR hit, or this is actually brand owned media. And once we kind of create that organizational structure, there's a lot of really interesting insights
Mm.
that can pop out.
How was it in those early days then making that switch? Like you said, you never thought you would be the founder of a SaaS solution,
Well,
and now
the
you
first
are.
thing I had to do was just make sure that it actually didn't exist. Because I
Just
was like,
double,
well,
trip,
I'm
double,
like, am I
triple
really the
check.
first person ever to think of this? Like,
Yeah. Why do you think it
and
hasn't been? Why do you think you are the first then? Why do you think you're
oh
the first
gosh,
person that's taken the time out?
all I can guess, Stephen, is that people are highly siloed in their own disciplines. There's not a whole lot of multi-channel marketers out there or interdisciplinary marketers. Look, people who are looking to find connections across um, their own silo.
Sure.
And so people go deeper within their silos, but they don't jump silos, right?
Mm.
And I think it was unique that I got interested as a PR guy in search. And I just don't think anyone had, I mean, it sounds super intuitive, right? But for some reason, nobody had. And honestly, every single SEO I talked to had never considered, oh, there could be other points of brand discovery in the SERP.
Hmm.
It's like, good Lord, guys, like how hard is it to rank your own website in the top and the first page of Google? It's impossible. It's super hard. And yet there's all these PR hits all over the place, and not just PR, it's all sorts of different
Yeah.
stuff. So, anyways, I my guess is that people just get stuck in their own weeds.
And who do you think sees you first? Is it fellow agencies that kind of use your services, or
We've
the customers
we've
direct?
been, yeah, I would say that agencies are most interested in what we're doing because we're providing a new way of looking at the digital landscape,
Mm,
and it's a new service they can kind of tack on to what they're doing for their clients. Um, and so people are really interested in that aspect. And then we've had people kind of come at it from lots of different directions. I think there's so many potential use cases for that branded analysis of
definitely.
search.
It's a really interesting area that you've carved out. One of my questions that I normally ask people is sort of how they stand out from the crowd. But in your case, you kind of you're one man crowd. So how were you seen? How were you heard? How did you sort of get into the understanding, or earn the trust, I should say, from fellow agencies, and not to be probably easily confused with that, or fall into that category of just another SEO agency?
I don't know if we have earned that trust yet.
You're getting there though. You're doing it.
We're working our damnedest on it, I'll tell you that. No, we're pretty young. I started working on this project 2 years ago.
Hmm.
We came up with an MVP product this past winter. We didn't really tell people that it existed until July of this year. And so there's only a few thousand people on the platform currently. So it's pretty young. We don't even have our pro model up. Like what if you go to visably.com, visably.com, what you'll find is a totally free tool that analyzes where your brand exists within any keyword result that you can think of. Where we want to go with it is we want to scale this strategy so you can analyze dozens, hundreds, even thousands of keywords for branded content, and then look at those results in aggregate.
Amazing. What do you need to do that then? What are the common barriers in your path?
Um, Money.
Classic money situation.
No, I think we've scoped most of what we need to do. I think we know how we need to get there. I think it's just, money, resources, and time.
Hmm.
I'm sure that's what pretty much every entrepreneur says on this show. Um, there's some pretty tricky stuff that we have to do, but there's a lot of, SEO is not a new SaaS, right?
No.
Like most people have figured out how do we scrape Google. Well, okay, there's a lot of solutions for that. Um, I think one of the bigger things that we came up with that's kind of defensible is like we developed a machine learning technology
Hmm.
that recognizes and kind of and identifies and like then classifies websites depending on e-commerce or earned media or something other like that. So that's behind us now. We've kind of built that. Um, I think keyword data is challenging. I think we have pretty good keyword data, but it can always be better. And the larger sample set we get, the better it gets. So yeah, I think there's all sorts of things that we'll get better at as we scale.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's just giving us a runway to get there.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you're going to go down the investment route then.
We've raised a little bit of seed money,
Hmm.
so we have that through the end of this year and into next, and we'll see what happens when we're not selling anything right now. So,
Hmm.
it's one thing to get people to come and use your thing for free. It's another thing to get them to pay you for it.
Yeah, always.
So, we'll see what happens, and
Totally different value proposition when money's
yeah,
involved.
and I think there's a lot of different products that we could build out, and we built like this very kind of foundational SERP analysis product, and from there it really depends on product market fit and where we see the wins, and what our customers are asking and what we think is going to be best
Yeah.
and most rapidly adopted.
Definitely. I want to ask you how you have felt in terms of running this business as opposed to your last one. What challenges have you personally faced? And like you said earlier, you never imagined this is what you would be doing, and yet here you are doing it.
Mhm.
How has that been? What sort of learning curve have you had to go on to make this a viable success?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm a marketing agency guy, so we've gone from selling human services to software, and that in some ways feels really, really gratifying and good because it's really hard to scale human services.
Hmm.
Like you can't just, because we're selling this like high expertise, right? Like when you're an agency, like you have these guys and gals and they do really fantastic work, and you'd add another one. Well, it's not that easy. You have to train them in and mentor them and get them up to speed. With software, you build one product and you can put 10,000 people on it. So that is pretty exciting. I think the stuff that we don't know about what we're trying to do is it's like there's a lot of unknowns out there, right? Like I think with the marketing profession, because I've been around for a while, I've done this for 17 years, it's like I've kind of been thrown every single question from a client, and I kind of anticipate it coming now, and I know what the answer is going to be. And with software, it's like every single day there's like a new challenge that I have never encountered before, and here we are, problem solving every single 5 minutes. So I don't know. It's
You happy to be
refreshing.
back in that seat though, because obviously when you first started out 11, 12 plus years ago, when those questions
17, my friend.
17 years ago, sorry, I apologize.
No
17 years
problem.
ago,
I look
those
young.
questions that you're asking now, obviously we're in that sort of same mental state in the sense of they're new, they're fresh. You were asking them 17
Yep.
years on,
Yep.
they
Yep.
get a little bit sort of common, as you put it. But now those questions are fresh again. Is that great for you? Is this like kicked off a new sort of spark in your mind because it's
Absolutely, without
part of
question.
the new the
I
new
turn I
environment?
turned 40 this year, right?
No way.
And
Don't believe it.
turned 40 this year, and it's it's not like I'm having a midlife crisis, but I think that people, it's I've come to recognize and accept that it's healthy for people to have change in their lives, and
Mm,
especially professional challenges. And my professional challenges have not become n- novel anymore, right? Like
yeah.
I'm really good at doing this thing in marketing that we sell, and I still have the agency and it produces it's very successful. But doing software, it's like this whole new journey, this whole new
Mm,
adventure that we get to figure out now, and it comes from a very foundational place because it comes from my own experience, and we incubated the idea with our own clients for many years. We really kind of tested the waters, and I think established what I think was product market fit before we even decided to start building a software product. But so I have a lot of confidence that we have of something really special and important and valuable because we've tested it so thoroughly. But it's yeah, it's exciting to do something new, and
yeah,
I'm
definitely.
happy I don't have to move. I'm happy that I don't have to give up my agency life. It's still there, but I've got this new thing going on too.
Yeah. And, you didn't say it, but because you didn't say it, it almost is it. Rather than buying a Porsche for a midlife crisis, you just thought, hey, I'm going to set up a SaaS company and do something I've never done.
Well, it's just like, how do you have a new adventure professionally, right?
Mm,
And I still have 20 years left in my career, and I could keep doing the same thing for the next 20 years, no question.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a comfortable living, and it's great clients. But yeah, it's exciting to push the
100%. Push
it's
yourself into that
yeah, well,
exciting
it's
space,
also
right?
exciting to push the like what I consider pushing the industry forward. I'm like,
Yeah.
what again? Like this is a relevant strategy, guys. Like no one's doing it. Like
And
our
especially, yeah,
clients love
exactly,
it.
because no one's doing it, you're, naturally, because you're sort of that entrepreneurial mindset, you're not going to sit there seeing this nice open space that no one else is in and not do something about it.
Kind of. Yeah, you're
You know,
absolutely right. It
you
was it
have to
was
try it.
it felt like I had to try it. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you get it. You've been there.
Yeah, don't. This isn't about me. But let's talk about balance then. How have you dealt with balancing of the continuation of the PR side of things, the new
Mhm.
business, and sort of life in general, and juggling this additional plate?
Oh, it's hard. Because we don't make any money
Mm,
visibly, I still pull a salary from my agency work, and so that has to continue. That has to be healthy. Um, However, I'm also a dad. I also try to exercise. Fortunately, the place where I live is just a convenient place. Like I can run the agency and I can run the software company from the same location. There's really beautiful trails right outside my office. So I say my life is very convenient. Like there's not very much like transportation involved or like I don't have to anything like that. That's honestly a
Yeah.
big part of it is just balance is I think taking out the commute and kind of
Oh,
shrinking
massively.
your footprint. Yeah.
It's interesting, so many people over the last 6 months have had that commute taken away from them.
Mm.
And I've heard some incredible things about what people have done filling that time, and that some people it's like 2 to 4 hours back of their life every day. And that's an amazing amount of time that I think people weren't aware that they didn't have as well, because it was just something that they did. It wasn't questioned.
Totally. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, I have a kid, but her daycare is like 5 minutes from our house. And my office is very close to my home. I can walk here. And so all of these things make it, and honestly, if I were to like rotate the screen, you could see a ski hill outside my window. Like I can walk to a chairlift from my
It's
office.
just now
So
you're just painting a too perfect picture.
I mean, it's charmed. I'm a lucky,
It's the
I'm a
white
lucky
picket
dude. Yeah.
fence
Uh,
sort
uh,
of life. Yeah.
let's not go that far.
Why not? Own it, man. Own it. The people. If you thing is with environment, I think it's something that you have to have right. You have to make sure
Mm,
that things in your life are enabling you to be able to come into work, be able to focus, to be able to show up.
yeah.
But also likewise, when you leave that office, making sure that when you're spending time with your daughter and when you're spending time with your family, that you are spending that time, because it's so easy for people like us to make that line a little bit grey and get that energy confused a little bit.
I think it's fine if it's a gray line between work and play, as long as you're feeling refreshed at the end of the
Hmm.
day. If you
Yeah.
lose that sense, because like for instance, like I take my computer home at night, I work late, and sometimes working late is actually where I have the greatest focus because during the day I have phone calls and emails and all this stuff coming in. No one's emailing me at midnight, so it's like get a lot done. But at the same time, being able to quickly escape and run and get some exercise in outside, and like that's a critical piece for me
Yeah.
is just I'll tell you a little anecdote. So this week we had a client fly into town, and he is a big client of ours, and he really wanted to go climb a mountain. So we took the day off on Wednesday and we went out and climbed a mountain.
Love it.
And I'm just gonna say, hell, like that's work. I'm with a
Yeah, yeah.
client. We're gonna go climb a mountain together, and it
You could
was
have
it
taken it
was.
that step further and been like, "This is a great analogy for, the
No, we literally climbed a mountain.
the struggle of things." But no, you're just like, let's go climb a mountain. Why not?
Yeah.
Which I love that. So for you, Chris, then you mentioned about sort of the runway and getting to the end of the year and moving forward. But what is next, sort of more directly with Visibly on your plans, and what can we expect to see? And Chris, the internet has let us down. I think he has left. Shall I try and bring him back? Can I bring Chris back? Let's find out, guys. Let's find out. He's currently left the stream. If you're watching, bear with me. Let's see if he comes on. If not, hey, it was a great chat either way. That's what I love about this. The thing about doing things live is that sometimes it doesn't go quite to plan. We've got to remember that. And that's a really good analogy for life. It's you've got to be prepared to allow things not to go to the way you want it to go. So we'll give it a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds, or maybe a minute. Who knows? See if Chris comes back. If he doesn't, we'll round up. He's back. Let's see what happens. He's back.
Yeah.
There we go.
These are the perils of live broadcasting.
That's what I literally just said. All on my lonesome. I thought, can't predict some things. But
Oh
hey, you're
gosh.
back.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
No
Do
idea.
not worry about it.
Okay.
It's fine. I filled the void with my horrible tones of voice. No, I'm kidding. I've got lovely tones of voice. Let's all face it.
I think you're a podcast host. I think you do just fine.
Yeah. Listen, Chris, I asked the question and he cut out after I answered. So I'm not sure if that's a good omen or bad.
What was the question? Remind me.
The question was, what's next on the plate for you guys, sort of more directly in terms of what we can see?
For Visably?
Yeah.
So for Visably, we are really excited about this pro software that we're working on right now. It's going to be enterprise-based software where you could track thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of keywords, analyze them against your brand, see how you're doing within the entire footprint of search engines. And then you can really extract. One of the other really awesome things about Visably is that we're a brand listening platform, but we're also a list building platform because we have the segmentation technology. So once you have these a massive amount of kind of SERP results gathered, and you have and you've kind of broken it down by channel, and you've broken it down by like where you exist and where you don't exist. You can cleanly extract these lists. So for instance, you can cleanly extract all the PR hits from 1,000 SERPs. That's 10,000 results. You can cleanly extract all of the e-commerce hits. And from there, you can break it down further and say, oh, like, these guys covered us, these guys didn't, so on and so forth. So now you have this target kind of prospect list, whether you're a sales manager or whether you're a PR guy like myself. One of the hardest things for PR professionals is just figuring out who the heck do you talk to? Who do you identify as an influencer or as somebody who writes about your products and services? Well, guess what? Google does it for you. Google populates the most relevant content for any subject in the world and then populates it on the first page. And if there was a way that you could mine that data and scale it, well, that's what Visably does. So
it literally sounds like the golden ticket for the perfect solution for SEO guys. I feel like you're giving these people agencies the ability to put like their performance on steroids. And
I think so. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. And another thing that I'm actually excited about is that we're gonna have the ability for so a couple other products that we want to roll out is for PR people to come and submit the URLs or the PR hits that they've acquired for their clients. And we can just reference it against their database and tell them how they performed in search, how many clicks they got, how like what was the equivalent ad value of those clicks, what keywords are they ranking for. So just to kind of fill in all the details about how their PR performed.
It makes it tangible though.
Makes it very tangible. And that's been a big problem with PR is just how intangible PR is. It's like, oh, I got this hit for you in the New York Times and everyone's super excited about it, but you don't see a website bump or you can't really tie back like direct sales. And now there's a whole lot more that we can do, especially with the rise of affiliate and the rise of all these other kind of like consumer tracking mechanisms. And now we can, with Visably, potentially in the future, we can track kind of a full funnel sales journey from the point of consideration to the point of purchase. And so that's exciting to me.
That sounds incredible. And I'm shocked, and as I'm sure you were, that no one was doing this and there wasn't a solution for this.
Steven, it took me honestly like 2.5 years to come to the realization that nobody was doing this.
It's
because
amazing.
it seems so intuitive to me. So hopefully, I'm sure that people aren't going to be too far behind us now that
This
we're
is the thing
doing
though,
it.
it's one of those things where no one's done it, but now you've created it and you've done it. You're gonna see people that
We've
are
got a
gonna
little bit of a
tell.
head start, but
Yeah.
we have to keep running for sure.
Competition's good, I think. Yeah, it keeps
It
you running,
is.
keeps you
Yeah. And,
pushing forward.
the way that I see it is hopefully it raises the tide. It helps
Mm,
people recognize that this is a very viable marketing strategy and this is
yeah,
something that people should be adopting. And then if Visibly can be seen as a leader in the space, then
yeah.
hell, I think we win.
I also think it gives a huge amount of power and sort of control back to the end consumer. A great example with the PR side of things there. It's like, yeah, I got you on the New York Times, but actually to that end consumer, what does that look like to them? So it gives that transparency, I guess we could put it, in terms of what's actually happening.
Yeah. I think what's so special about search is that it's the only place in the world where you get this incredibly targeted, unique customer.
Hmm.
Somebody who's looking for this widget, and they're all going to go to search to find that widget, and they're all going to type in this pretty much the same search phrase, and they're all over the place. There's no single place you can target that customer. You're just guessing. When you're spraying ads out there and there's really sophisticated kind of like persona marketing, but for a fact that if someone's looking for this widget and there's 2,400 people a month looking for them, and they're going to statistically speaking, they're going. There's 30% of them that are going to click on the very first organic link,
Hmm.
and 18% are going to click on the second organic link, and so on and so forth. There's this incredibly nice roadmap on how you reach that customer.
Yeah.
And for a marketer, you might not get your own website there, but you might get a media review there. And maybe there's an e-commerce site that's doing incredibly well with that search, but you're not featured on their landing page. So you can go back to that e-commerce partner and say, hey guys, like, what do we have to do to improve the merchandising for this keyword landing page? We really want to be here.
Mm.
That's information that people don't even have right now.
It's incredible. And like I said, this is such an early stage for your tool that it's only ever going to get better. It's only ever going to get more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So you've put yourself in an incredible position, and I'm glad. I'm like honored that we get to speak at this early stage, because I'd love to speak again in a year, 2 years time, and just see what's happened. Because no doubt that once this ball starts to roll, and you get more and more known and popular, that it's truly going to be unstoppable.
Well, thanks. I hope so. We'll see. Yeah, I'm excited. I think we have something pretty cool.
You do. Well done, Chris. Listen, thank you so much for coming on Founders 365. My last question is, how can people find out more about Visably?
Yeah, so check us out. Easiest thing is just come to the website, visably.com. We're also on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter. And my name is Chris Dickey. You can find me on all those platforms as well.
Chris, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for sharing your story. And like I said, I wish you all the best. And I have no doubt that it is going to be a huge success.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thanks everyone for listening and watching. This has been Founders 365.